Welcome to Mind Your Manners. Today I have Brent Bailey with me once again, editor for all things HarnQuest. Brent, how's it going?
Very good. How are you doing?
Not too shabby. We've got us a good set of articles here, as usual, with the HarnQuest fourth quarter 2024. What are we closing out the quarter with this year?
Well, this time we have three articles and two Atlas Harnica maps. Uh, the articles are the Miners Guild, so the latest in our line of occupation-related articles. Parios Keep in Melderyn, which has a tie-in to the Miners Guild. It's a kind of mining-centric settlement. And the last one is Huxuth Gargun colony. It was one of the classic articles that first appeared in a much briefer version in the Araka Kalai module from back in the 1980s. And this is a revision and expansion of that classic article.
Excellent. Why don't we start off with the Atlas
Sure.
updates? This is a program that's kind of being brought back.
Yes.
Um, can you speak to that a little bit about where we're looking at for this quarter and
Sure.
what the plans are?
So the as you said, it's kind of being brought back that Tom Dalgleish did the Atlas maps for many years, and then kind of stopped a few years back when it became too much, for him to do. Um, but we've recruited some new mappers. They started back late summer, and we had the first two map squares were released in the previous HarnQuest, and this time they are um, K7 and M7, which flank the previously published L7, which was the bulk of the Kingdom of Chibissa. So K7 has mostly Setha Heath and then a little bit of Chibissa. And then M7 is the other side of the Annadel Highlands from Chibissa. And so it has a little bit of Melderyn. Its property is claimed by Melderyn. So it's the north part of Melderyn. And it includes Thay, which a lot of people have been really, it's a very populated part of the Kingdom of Melderyn. So there's a lot on this map. So that it's got Thay, it's got Harden, it's got a lot of different settlements, including Parios, which was another good tie-in for this HarnQuest release.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing these. I thought the last set were fantastic. And I'm hoping this is a fixture of HarnQuest for the foreseeable future. Uh,
It should be, yes. That's the
Excellent.
plan, is that every HQ going forward will have two Atlas maps. And while I'm thinking of it, so that L7 that I mentioned, it's been previously published, but I believe there were some corrections, modifications to bring it more in line with the other new ones. So that should be released as well. But that's not part of HardQuest because it's a just an update to the existing map. So anyone who's purchased the PDF of L7, a new version should be hitting their library pretty shortly here.
Excellent. Well, why don't we transition over to the Miners Guild
Great.
and the Miners Occupation article? So this was 10 pages. There's a lot of information in here. It kind of gives you an overview of mining in Harn in general, a couple call outs to how things differ in, I think it was the Thardic Republic and the Northlands or Ball. I really enjoy these occupation articles. And this is, I think, particularly good. Jonathan did an excellent job with this. What was kind of the mission statement for this one? Um, I know we have kind of proceeded through a bunch of occupation articles in recent memory. Why the miners now?
Well, the Miners is a very wealthy, very important guild, and it was just one that yeah, Jonathan really wanted to dig into at this point. And our mission with this, like all the other occupation articles, especially these ones that are a craft, um, we're not trying to be exhaustive on the topic. This isn't a treatise on medieval mining techniques. This is an overview, as you said, of the Miners Guild as an organization, mining that the miners do, but it's not going to tell you all the techniques about medieval mining. It's not going to really dig into that. We figured that a lot of that information is available out there. You can, go do Googling on, medieval mining practices, and you can come up with an awful lot of stuff. We didn't want to repeat all that. We don't want to just rehash things that you can get elsewhere on real world techniques. And these guild articles, these occupation articles are really intended to be an overview, just to give you enough information, but primarily as you said, what's Harnic about it? So how does this Harnic Miners Guild work? And what are some of the differences by region and that sort of thing? So, if you're reading in here and you're interested in learning more about, smelting of metals, well, there's a lot of other material you can go out and find to do that.
No, I thought this walks the line between information and playability really well. Couple things that really stood out to me is some of the attention that's paid to like the logistics. What does it take to run a mining camp? What does it take to uh, have this be, kind of central to your economy? As if you're playing a game of Lords, or someone that's running a settlement or something, and this is on, you know, m- maybe this is where half the town is working nearby or something like that. Um, there's a lot of things you can bring into your game. Wagon trains. There's a lot of attention paid to the materials that are required to make this work. Uh, how you fund a mining settlement, how you establish one, the expeditions that go into finding those resources. All those things, fantastic for running a game that's going to be centered around this.
Right. That a lot of what we try to do here is, well, how would this factor into a role-playing game? That's where, getting into the details of mining techniques or glass-making techniques or any of the other occupations, that type of thing probably isn't going to come up much, if at all, during your actual gaming sessions. But for a GM to read this and know more about what those steps are that go into setting up a mine, the prospecting, the staking the claim, the actual constructing of the camp, and all the different pieces that have to go into that. It's just rich with hooks then that they can use in their sessions. That how do I get the PCs involved in this kind of thing? And there's things in here about how the taxes and fees are paid on a mine to the crown. And so that's a type of area that the GM can get the players involved, either perhaps escorting a payment or intercepting a payment. There's a lot of different things that can happen in here that are related to mines. And so, that's the type of thing that these articles really focus on.
Yeah, there's also some attention paid to what could be character backstory when it comes to like a path to freedom for serfs, which we don't see a ton of that elsewhere. This is one of the few things that I can think of that can give you that pass, and get you out of that sort of life. So if you're rolling characters randomly, um, and you land on a freed serf or something like that, this is a great background for them to have. Um, yeah, I thought this was a great article. Is there anything else you would want to add about it?
No, I think that's from this one. Those are the key things. We really, like I said, we try to put things in here, how they'll fit into role playing, how they'll fit into your characters, and like you just said there about the freed serfs, that in the Harn world setting, a serf who escapes to a free town and can live there for a year and a day, earns their freedom. but there's only a few free towns on Harn. And so the other way is to, if you can run away and become employed at a mine for 2 years, you do get your freedom. And that's the good thing about mines is they're all over the place, and they're
Hmm.
out in the wilderness, so they're off on the periphery. Uh, so there's quite a bit more opportunity there than escaping to to a free town. So it is a good mechanism there for when you're generating PCs, that if you do generate a peasant or serf, that that's a good mechanism for you to have that serf become free.
Yeah. No, you can run a whole campaign just based off these 10 pages.
Yeah,
Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about Parios Keep and that
sure.
settlement. This is a 16-page article, also written by Jonathan. Um, and we're over in Melderyn.
Yes.
There's quite a bit in here. So we've got 15 plus NPCs that I counted. We had 24 named locations. There is a specific mine in there as well. Um, yeah, there's a lot built out in this. What was kind of the impetus for this particular location in this article?
Well, the we've been doing a number in recent years. We've been doing a number of settlements along the Jenin Trail. So from, if you look at the Jenin Trail from Tishal to Thay, and there's quite a few settlements that have already been published along that line, including like Burzin in Chibissa, and we did Laquette not too long ago. Harden is a classic article that was revamped quite a few years ago, but it's so that one's in there. So there's a number of those kind of waypoints along the Jenin Trail, and Parios was just kind of one that Jonathan felt was a good one to do, especially because it tied really well into the Miners Guild that he was working on, and it allowed us to kind of kill a few birds with one stone there in what we wanted to do.
Yeah, and it is very much a mining town. These pair of articles work really well together. Um, for anyone that is looking to either make a stop here on their game or set it here, uh, this one HarnQuest is going to give you everything that you need to run that. We've got a 5-story keep that's all mapped out. We've got a constable that's running the town, but then we also have 24 points of interest on the town map. So there's a lot to play around with here. And I mentioned we had all those different named NPCs. Um, and we also have our plot hooks. So this is a very complete module that folks are getting. Um, my favorite thing though is actually the mine
Yeah.
that he put in here. Um, was that you know was this article going to be built around that specifically? Did we go looking for a mining town and then say, hey, let's put this together, or did this kind of come together organically?
It's been a while, so I don't remember the how exactly this
We just
this
put you on the
worked out.
spot.
That well, originally, we had talked about having, as part of some of the past occupation articles, we've had sample locations. So like the Glassworkers Guild had a 2-page part of that was actually one of the glass shops in Thay. So but it wasn't part of the Thay article because Thay's been published a long
Hmm.
time ago. So we stuck that in with the glassblowers, the glassworkers guild article. Well, in this case, we had been talking about, with the Miners Guild article, we had been planning to do one or two different sites, a couple of mines that we could use as samples. So we were thinking about one kind of surface mine and one subterranean, underground mine, just as 2 or 4 page examples of that. And really, yeah, I think originally we were going to do like a tin mine in Candé.
Hmm.
But Jonathan, or I think it might have been Jonathan, or he was like, well, if we do it as something that's over here where we're already planning to write this article, it just, we can kind of tie these in better and things like that. So, because if we were to do a tin mine in Candé, um, it wouldn't be part of a settlement. It'd be harder to kind of tie it into a settlement. And that's one of the things when we're doing these articles for Columbia Games is kind of figuring out, well, how are they going to sell this? It's one thing to say, well, here's this mine, but Columbia doesn't really want to sell, a two-page article or even these four, four if they, it's kind of they like to sell these things as a little bit bigger packages. Um, in the past, there have been smaller 2, 4 page articles, but they've kind of gotten away from that over the last few years. So we knew this Monday mine needed to be either part of the Miners Guild as a sample, or in this case, it just worked really well as a location here in Parios. So we stuck it in there.
Yeah, it's a fun location.
Yeah.
Um, I think folks are going to be really happy with this.
Yeah, it
Um,
really it's great because it as a mine, it's isolated. So you can use this as Monday, but a GM could easily take this mine and locate it somewhere else and make some changes to, it doesn't even need to be a zinc mine. It could be something else if they really wanted it to be. They can kind of put it in various places, and it wouldn't take a whole lot to change. The people, the layout of the camp, all that sort of thing. It's very flexible in terms of how you wanted to, what you wanted to do with it. If you really wanted to go through and, scratch out zinc and change it to, copper or what, something else, you really could. It just depends on where you wanted to put it and all. But as it is, it works out really well. And as we do with everything, it is integrated with the setting. So there is a lot of interaction talked about with the tribal people who live in the area. And there is, talks of, well, how does Or get to town and back with, and coming back with supplies and that sort of thing. And like you said, there's the adventure hooks. There's, we've got some really interesting adventure hooks here, specific to the mine.
yeah, and if you ever want to know the origin of calamine lotion, this is a great article for that. Uh,
It does get a mention, yes.
yeah, I that was news to me. I didn't know that that was the origin of it. So I'll just tease that for everyone so that they go out and grab it. Um, and then our final article here, we have a Gargun colony,
Mhm.
Huxuth. This is an 8-page article. Tell me a little bit about the origin of this one because this one goes back a bit.
Yeah, Huxuth, like I said, it was part of the Araka Kalai adventure module back from like 1987,
Mm,
um, where it was a very bare bones type of adventure. It had a part of the floor plans here are an expansion of the floor plans that were in the original Araka Kalai. This has a lot more information about the colony itself, the locations, the floor plan, that sort of thing. And we really fleshed out some additional NPC Gargun for the GM to use. In the original, there was the king and there was the enslaved the enslaved wizard that he has. Those guys get a little more information here. Plus, we added some additional Gargan. But this was, uh, we're really trying to make sure that everything that has been published by Columbia Games in the past is available today. And so slowly we're kind of going back. We've got the vast majority. There's not a whole lot of things left. There's a few, but we'll get to
hmm
those. But Huxuth was one. We did Ushet Gargan Colony not long ago. This is the next one on the list, and then there are four other ones that were part of the Nasty Brutish and Short publication. Those are slated to be redone as well. Kind of like this one, they'll be done, one at a time and released as part of HarnQuest. So the thing about this one was I think that Richard Luschek's art, um, his art, especially with it when it comes to to Gargun, is he does an amazingly cool job with these orcs, and not just the black and white portraits, but the color one, and just a really cool feel to them. The torchlight and this kind of
The
thing.
the
So,
the throne room image
yeah,
is wonderful, and
yeah.
he's got another one of those great kind of silhouette backlit kind of
Hmm.
paintings. Yeah, I would be remiss if we didn't mention all of Richard's work in all three of these articles,
Yeah.
uh, as well as the maps. The maps are fantastic. Um, and let me shout out your map person, Bill Bean.
Yep. Yeah, like on
Um,
on Huxuth, the like if you look at when you look at the floor plan page, like the middle third or so there, was what came from the original publication, and then we've added some things to the north, and then we added that smaller, like lower section there, just to kind of expand a little bit beyond what was mentioned in the original. And
yeah,
Bill kind of modernized modernized what was in the original one and then added to it.
yeah, and this one could be a great dungeon crawl. We've got 15 points of interest on the map. Um, we've got player map. We've got a nice. I don't know if we want to consider this one a poetic map.
That's what
Um,
it, yeah, it's a poetic map. That was originally, my thought had been that Richard would just do another one that looked like the one he did for Ushette.
hmm,
But Richard doesn't like to do the same thing over and over again. So he's like, nah, I want to
who
make this
does?
one different. I got to make this one look cool. And so the one thing that if you have the Araka Kalai module, there's a small poetic map in there of Araka Kalai and the Mizzen Plain, that is done in a very similar drawing style. It's not on the fur. It's not on the on the hide like this one is. But if you look at some of the symbols on that one and the symbols on this one, you could imagine that they were actually drawn by the same artist. Um, just on one was scratched onto to parchment, and this one was onto a hide. So it was kind of a nice tie-in back to Araka Kalai, which that's the one cool thing about Huxuth, is that if you look at the pilgrim route from northern Caldor up into Orbal, so you go through Lariel and Guerin, and then so we have those articles, and then we had Araka Kalai and Okran Abbey, um, and the Mizzen region. But Huxuth kind of sits between and is a major obstacle between those two things. And so, if you're a GM running a pilgrimage related, campaign, Huxuth fills a really big gap there.
Yeah, no, it's a great stop for your characters if they're trying to make it through, or if
Yeah,
you're running a caravan guard
right,
uh, and you have to try to make it through. That's
right.
there's
Yeah,
also
it's
some fun
not.
stuff in here. We've got an Earthmaster artifact in
Yeah,
play, which is always exciting. Of course, we have additional adventure hooks. Uh, no, I mean this. As I think I said last time, HarnQuest just gets better and better with every iteration. Anything else you would want to add about this article or any of the other articles that we've looked at?
no, I think we've covered these three. And like I said, with the Atlas Harnica maps, this time they're, a lot of people were, and I think, well, we were expecting kind of this time, since the last HarnQuest release had the major two sections of Melderyn Island. We had planned on doing this time the top half of the island and a big section of the mainland. Um, but we ended up deciding to go this way because we really wanted to get this M7 with Thay and
Mm,
Parios. We wanted to kind of get that one out there. So it was like, well, let's just pair it with the other side of Chibissa. So we've got that kind of section right there. Um, we'll swing back around and get those other ones. I don't know if they'll be in the next one, but or I think we've kind of slated in for the one after that right now. But there will be two, and we'll. It's it's fun to see those kind of getting back in, getting back in the mix there.
yeah, it's very exciting. Well, on that note, without getting too far ahead of ourselves,
Sure.
is there anything that you're able to mention about Q1 25 at this point?
Right now, it is looking like going back to fill in, as I mentioned, we've got some of these that aren't really available for sale, some of the older articles, or older articles that are exactly as they were
Mm,
40 years ago and have not yet been updated and revised and expanded and all that. Um, and I think we're going to take a chunk out of that in Q1. We are probably going to do, uh, well, after the last HQ, when we did high end keep and the copper hook and stuff, there were quite a few people who were saying they were very happy that we were swinging back around and picking up some of Retham.
mm,
And so that's what it's looking like we're going to do in Q1 is Tormau and Ithaco castles, which were part of the original. Well, Tormau was part of the original Retham Kingdom module, and Ithaco was part of Castles of Harn. Again, 40 years ago, basically. And they've been available. You can buy them now, but they're black and white. They're the same material that they were 40 years ago. No new color art, no new, floor plans. But that's what we're going to do in Q1 is we're going to, colorize all that and expand them from like 8 pages to 16 pages. So there'll be a lot more information about those two places. So that's kind of the plan right now is to do Ithaco and Tormau castles.
fantastic. And I guess one other note, we just got notices that more books are shipping. So folks can keep an eye on their mailboxes.
The only other thing would be, and I know that there was the Kickstarter a couple months back for the second installment in um, the novels, the novellas
Yep,
by Maxwell Alexander Drake. The first one is Carnage at Kiraz. This one is going to be The Slaughter at Syrian, and that should be coming out. I think the schedule that they were working towards was end of Q1, so like March, April is what they're looking at for that. So if you
fantastic.
if you didn't jump on that uh, Kickstarter, I believe you can still sign up for that on the Columbia website.
Perfect. Love it. Well, certainly no shortage of things going on.
Nope.
Um, so great. Well, thanks for joining me.